By now, you guys have heard the news that Sasha Banks and Naomi both walked out of the live Monday Night Raw show this week. Both women allegedly walked out of the show over creative differences. At first, some fans thought the story was a shoot and believed the story was used to push the show because the commentary got on mic and Corey Graves said some things about how both women acted unprofessional. If it was a shoot, both women are baby faces, so that would not fall in line with their current story. Plus, the commentators have earpieces in from the team behind the curtain producing the show, so we don't know if the comments were Corey Graves being a heel commentator or if it was Vince McMahon in his ear expressing himself. But as more news came out, it was believed that the story was true. The walkout was real, and the main event 6-women match announced at the top of the show would have to be changed. This match wasn't advertised or mentioned before the show that night, so it was a surprise to many watching the show that they were going to have a 6-women match. Because of a disagreement between Sasha Banks and Naomi with the creative, WWE had to cancel that match, and the main event was changed to a match between Becky Lynch and Asuka. The match was supposed to determine the next contender for Bianca Belair. When I first watched the show and saw the card for this match, I wondered why Sasha Banks and Naomi were in a Champions Contender match on Raw when they are originally from SmackDown. As the women's tag team champions, I understand that they can go to any brand within the company as champions and defend the tag team titles as a team. Immediately, I thought that anybody else could have been placed in the role of filling this show instead of the tag team women's champion. Because the show is on Raw, I immediately thought that if both women competed in this match, they would obviously lose, and instead a performer from Raw would end up with the title shot. According to Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful, when he received the run sheet for the show, the 6-pack match was not scheduled as a championship contenders match, and it wasn't even listed at the top of the card. The match on the run sheet was highlighted in red. It didn't have a producer or a referee noted for the match from the beginning. He asked his sources why the match looked like that on the run sheet, and everyone suggested that he ask someone else, and if he finds out the story, they will confirm that Naomi and Sasha Banks walked out because of creative disagreements. So even before the match was announced on the show, Sasha and Naomi had already voiced their displeasure with the match, the creative, and the story that the match was supposed to tell. Fans speculated that the story told during this match would start the breakup story between Sasha Banks and Naomi. In my previous video, I spoke on how Sasha and Naomi are good champions, yet they lack contenders. Because of this, it's not shocking to see why WWE wanted to start this angle, but the women haven't had any good feud since becoming champion, and it seems too soon in their title reign to take the belt off of them. WWE released a statement saying that when Sasha Banks and Naomi arrived at the arena this afternoon, they were informed of their participation in the main event of tonight's Monday Night Raw. During the broadcast, they walked into WWE Head of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis' office with their suitcases in hand, placed their tag team championship belts on his desk, and walked out. They claimed they weren't respected enough as tag team champions, and even though they had 8 hours to rehearse and construct their match, they claimed they were uncomfortable in the ring with 2 of their opponents, even though they'd had matches with those individuals in the past with no consequence. Monday Night Raw is a scripted live TV show whose characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contracts. We regret we were unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event. At first, when the rumors started swirling on social media, it was stated that Sasha Banks and Naomi had a conversation with Vince McMahon, and neither side would budge on what they wanted to happen during the match. In their statement, WWE stated that we regret that we are unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event, but they did not announce the main event until the show began that night, and it wasn't advertised. After WWE released its statements, more news came out that in this match, Naomi was supposed to get the victory with a pinfall over Sasha Banks. According to an update from Fightful Select, the true story is that Banks and Naomi had pitched defending the Women's Tag Team Championship against Nikki ASH and Doudrop at Hell in a Cell, but the pitch was rejected. There was also a pitch to have Doudrop and Nikki ASH interfere in Naomi's planned match with Belair to cost Naomi the match, and then set up a future tag title match against Naomi and Sasha Banks with Nikki ASH and Doudrop, but that pitch was rejected too. People close to the situation had not heard that Banks and Naomi were unhappy working with Lynch and Asuka, who are the two people referenced in WWE's statement, despite the company's claim of that being the issue. People involved in constructing the match told Fightful that the match was specifically planned to not involve Naomi fighting Banks or Doudrop fighting Nikki. Banks and Naomi were upset that pushing one of them for a singles run was doing a disservice to the work they've done to elevate the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship and division. Naomi facing Belair would mean no tag team titles match for Hell in a Cell. There also wasn't a tag team title match at WrestleMania Backlash either. The match between Naomi and Belair would only be a filler match for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. WWE was hoping to save the bigger matches of Asuka and Belair versus Lynch for a bigger show such as SummerSlam or Money in the Bank. Last night, when Banks and Naomi left WWE, was forced to change their creative plans for their pay-per-views down the line. The statement put out by Fightful Select actually contradicts the professional PR statement put out by WWE about why Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out of WWE. No one should be surprised by this new development. Honestly, this has been building up for some time. Belair and Banks pay-per-view rematch got canceled for Belair and Lynch. Naomi has always had poor stories that have lacked in creative for years. Sasha has had issues with her booking as an individual star for almost a year or two now. Her and Naomi's stock has risen since combining their star power in Boss Glow. Rumors have also started swirling around that WWE wants to push Naomi as an individual star before having her join the bloodline. But right now, Naomi and Sasha are concerned with elevating the titles and the women's division. Naomi and Sasha have stated their intentions with the championships in press runs and to the public that they wish to be fighting champions and elevate the tag team titles and the women's division as a whole.